Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I decided to talk about some of my favourite comedies for you guys, since what I talk about is mainly superheroes because that's what I'm passionate about, but I do like other films as well. So I'm going to talk about, next video I might talk about something like horror or musicals or something like that, or we can go back and do some superhero stuff. I do have some very interesting videos coming up, but yeah, so let's do it. So, comedies. I watch a lot of comedies. I mainly watch superhero movies with a lot of humour, but comedies is one of my favourite genres, besides superheroes. So, and one of my favourite comedies is an underrated film, and that is, of course, Baywatch from 2017, starring The Rock and Zac Efron. This film is so funny. It's so ridiculous that they basically want to, they looked at basically 22 Jump Street or 21 Jump Street. They looked at both of those films and was like, let's do that with Baywatch. So they took kind of the whole raunchy kind of comedy, and also jokes from other films and franchises and stuff like that, and kind of did those as like the quotes. But this film is funny in the lines, the stuff that they say, the stuff that they do, and this is one of the most quoted films that I do. But yeah, like, it's actually really good, and I'm sad that we're not getting a second one. And also, I'm kind of disappointed that no one gave it a fair shot. No one gave it a fair shake, because this film, yes, it's not good, but there are films that are not good that are entertaining and funny, and they are good. But yeah, so the next one is so I've just been starting to watch Adam Sandler films, and I'm not a big Adam Sandler guy, especially 90s Adam Sandler. I think they're not great. Like, I don't like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison and stuff like that. But his more recent comedies, I actually love. Which, my favourite Adam Sandler comedy that he's ever done is Blended. I remember watching Blended for the first time. I didn't see it in the cinema. I was too young when it came out. But basically, I think it was around the same time that Pixels came out, I think. But I remember once my friend and his brother came over for a sleepover and was like, do you guys want to watch Blended? And Harry was like, yeah, let's put it on. And I was like, nah, I'm good. But then when they swayed me to watch it, I was like, yeah, okay, righto. And then when I watched it, it didn't really get me. There were a few funny stuff, but generally it wasn't a really funny film to me. It wasn't until it came out on Netflix that I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this another fair shake. And I watched it again, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore are fantastic in this. And Sandler's company do some very funny stuff. Like, especially Blended. Blended is a great comedy. And that is what made me go like, you know what? I'm going to give Adam Sandler a fair shake. So, I'm down. And then, so, while we're going down the Adam Sandler train, Pixels is another one. Pixels was a film that I always want to see because, like, I didn't play most of the video games. Like, I knew Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, and Mario, and Sonic, and all those. Like, some of them I didn't understand, like, Space Invaders and Galaga and stuff like that, and Scorpion, stuff like that. But when Donkey Kong and Pac-Man came out, I'm like, my God, yes! So, this film just made me go like, this is unbelievable. This is absolutely ridiculous. So, when I saw this, I was like, yeah, one of the best comedies. Like, not just the comedies, but the action scenes. Adam Sandler mixed the kind of action and comedy perfectly, like a lot of films do, but he mixed them in a way that and there's a lot of scenes that remind me of Ghostbusters, especially the whole Scorpion. I think that's a video game, Scorpion, where Adam Sandler and Josh Gad just shooting in the air. That was actually really cool to see, because like they weren't the proton packs, but they had like a gun that kind of reminded me of that, and they're kind of shooting around, and I'm like, oh my God, this is actually very, very cool. So I saw that and I was on board ever since then. So yeah, and then the next two Adam Sandler films that I watched, one of my friends wanted me to watch the Grown Ups films, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll get around watching them. But the thing is that I didn't have them on DVD. They weren't on Netflix until they were on Netflix, and they're still on Netflix. But I watched the first one. I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I think I like Pixels, but Grown Ups 1 is definitely my second favourite Adam Sandler comedy ever. Right behind Blended. And then Grown Ups 2, I thought was funny, but like pretty much all the time sequels to me are better than the original, except for Ghostbusters 2. But yeah, so I watched the whole thing of Grown Ups 2, and I'm like, this is funny, and it's a good comedy, but it's not as good as the first one. Because the first one was hilarious because they're trying to, because of the whole thing at the lake house, and the because the comedy's really good. Like, it's very good in the second one, but especially in that first one, and that whole pool scene is just hilarious. And the final kind of, I don't know what you would call it, like final battle, I guess you can put it, where they're playing basketball, and they put a lot of funny things in there, which they don't do a lot. They don't do a lot of things like that in the second one. They do the whole thing to, I think it's Dave Spader, who they just basically roll the tire and it goes down the street. But the whole film just felt weak, but it's still good. It's kind of like how some people feel with some films that they like they like the second one, but they don't necessarily love it compared to the first one. So yeah, and then the next one, which I loved, I watched this in Christian Studies just recently, and that's Bruce Almighty, starring Jim Carrey. And when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, because I was on board anything Jim Carrey. One of my favourite Batman movies, out of the original four anyway, is Batman Forever. And one of those many reasons is because Jim Carrey's in it. And Jim Carrey is amazing as the Riddler. So, I wanted to put that on my list, but that's not really a comedy. That's more of an action adventure film. But the comedies that Jim Carrey does are great. I love Mr. Popper's Penguins. I loved him in Sonic. I love pretty much all of his films. I love The Grinch, the Jim Carrey Grinch film. I love all those films. I love Dumb and Dumber. I saw that recently and I love it. I haven't seen Dumb and Dumber 2. I love The Mask. The Mask is one of my favourite Jim Carrey movies ever. So, yeah, and then when I saw this in class, I was like, okay, so it's Jim Carrey. It's, he's going to be this person, Bruce, again, but he is starring with Jennifer Aniston from Friends, which I was getting into Friends at that time, so I was like, yep, two of the best actors ever in a film together, I'm on board. I felt the same thing when I watched, we'll get to it later, but when I watched Jumanji, the recent Jumanji, so I was like, four of my favourite actors in a film, let's go. But, yeah, so I loved it, and after class, I would impersonate Jim Carrey, and I would do a lot of his quotes from The Mask, Batman Forever, not Dumb and Dumber because I haven't seen it at that point, but Bruce Almighty, especially the part where he stands up on, I don't know, this like tower thing and lightning's going off and he's like, I am Bruce Almighty. I would say that every single recess and my friends would crack up. So, yeah, and then next one is, now this one I love this film. I grew up with this one. And that's the Bean Ultimate Disaster movie, which is of course the Mr. Bean movie. There is another one called Mr. Bean's Holiday, which I like that one, but it's not as good as the Ultimate Disaster movie. The Ultimate Disaster movie, it's funny and also has kind of almost inappropriate things in it. That is like, he waves to this motorcycle person and he flips the finger and Mr. Bean's like, oh, okay, so he just kind of looks at his finger going like, what does this mean? So he just starts flipping everyone off. It's hilarious. Both that and the bit where he makes the chairs go all crazy on that ride, I was like, yes. Mr. Bean is fantastic, and Rowan Atkinson does great with comedy films, especially in Scooby-Doo and the original Mr. Bean stuff. What else did he do? Oh yeah, Johnny English. The two Johnny English movies I've seen. I haven't seen the first one, but I saw the second two. I really enjoyed the third one. I didn't mind the second one, but I really enjoyed the third one. But yeah, he is just a great comedian. One of my favourite comedians is Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey and Ron Atkinson are two of my favourite comedians ever. And then Central Intelligence. Central Intelligence was the first film ever that The Rock and Kevin Hart did together. And I always wanted to see it. So when I got for my birthday, when I turned 15, I got the extended cut, which I didn't know how, which I think I need to watch the extended cut because I don't know how that will work. My bro said that's just basically 2 seconds tacked on the very end, but I don't think that's right. But yeah, I watched that and I thought it was hilarious. Kevin Hart and The Rock do such an amazing job, and every single film that they're in together, I'm like, yes, you just sold me just because of that. So I saw, well, I guess I can mention it now because they're not really franchised. So when they did Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and Jumanji The Next Level, I Loves them in both of them. I think I prefer them in Welcome to the Jungle, but I do love The Next Level. And plus, throwing in Karen Gillian, the girl that played Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy, and Jack Black from School of Rock and Gulliver's Travels and stuff like that, I was like, yep, I'm on board. I'm sold. So those are definitely two of my favourite comedies of all time. The next one is Night School. I really love The Night School with Kevin Hart. Night School, I saw it in the theatre with my brother, and when we saw it in the theatre, I was like, okay, I'm ready to laugh, and it did not disappoint. I laughed so hard during it, especially during the whole, I guess his method of how to get the whole, what do you call it? Like the quiz right, I guess you can call it. And I was just like, oh my god, this is hilarious. So I saw that in the theatre. I saw both of the Jumanjis in the theatre with him and The Rock. I did see this next one in the theatre, and that's the Lego Batman movie. The Lego Batman movie was just a way to be fun and serious, but make fun of the original Batmans. We got jokes about the Adam West show from the 60s. We got jokes about Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and all of them were hilarious. And everyone likes Christian Bale. I like Christian Bale, but he's not one of my favourite Batmans of all time. But I do like him in those films, especially The Dark Knight. I think he just did a great job. But I see someone like George Clooney more as a playboy, as opposed to like Christian Bale. He just doesn't seem like, I don't know, I don't see him as a playboy. Anyway, we're getting off topic, but the Lego Batman movie was definitely a entertaining film, and made me go like, oh my god, this might be my favourite Batman. Until I saw the 60s stuff, because I knew what the 60s one were, but I saw the film way later. And that's one of my favourite Batmans is Adam West, but Will Arnett is almost like right under him or next to him, however I put it. But yeah, and then next is DC as well, which is my favourite DC film from their extended universe, and that's Shazam. Shazam, I saw it in the theatre. We were originally, me and my friend Luke, which you might know, he was in my birthday party videos, and also was in a Fortnite video with me earlier on the channel, like last year before maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I saw that with him because we were meant to go see Captain Marvel, but we were like, I was like, I guess we can see Shazam. Like, I didn't really watch any of the DC films. Yeah, up until that point, I haven't seen any of the DC films except for Suicide Squad, and I loved it, and I was like, there's no way that any DC film after it can top Suicide Squad. Because I really want to see Suicide Squad, because we saw the Joker, and we saw Will Smith as Deadshot in it. Because of seeing that, we finally got a live-action version of Harley Quinn, portrayed by Margot Robbie, which was just brilliant. So there was that. So when I saw Shazam, I was like, I don't have high expectations for this film. But when the whole comedic stuff started to happen, I was like, oh my god, this is hardly even a superhero film. This is just a comedy. Like, they throw the comedy in with the action and stuff like that. But when you get to the final battle, like, there is some of the comedic stuff there. The comedic stuff is kind of sprinkled in there. Not much, but a little bit. And the whole thing where, like, it's like he grabs the staff, kind of twirls it around and knocks the guy out, the villain out. Well, it doesn't really knock him out, it just kind of throws him away type of thing. But he puts it down and goes, all hands on deck, and all the kids grab on, and he was like, say my name. And they're like, Billy! I started cracking up. That was one of the best jokes in that movie. Um, but then I didn't realize he was like, no, not my actual name. Say the name that I get to turn into this guy. And they're like, Shazam! I was still laughing at that point, but then when you see Zachary Levi and the smoke's there, and you, the camera goes over his shoulder, and you see the smoke, and then you see these lightning bolts glow, and then the kids start walking out in their grown-up adult superhero versions. I'm like, yes! And that's why I'm mainly excited for this new Shazam movie, because not only was Shazam 1 my favourite DC film of all time, but also they had that extra layer of adding all the kids as Shazams. So I was like, yep, I'm sold. So yeah, so those are my favourite comedies. We'll talk about my favourite film franchise ones just quickly, because this has gone for 21 minutes. Now this one I didn't realise until recently, because I was bored at my grandparents' house. I didn't know what to put on, so I just decided to put on Daytime to see what it was like, and I loved it. I started cracking up. My grandma started cracking up, and she doesn't really watch a lot of movies. Like she laughs, but it's mainly at like mum and dad's jokes, or something that mum said about me or Harry. But I've never seen a life of the movie ever, so I'm like, oh my god, this is definitely one that I need to get. So now I have both of them on DVD. And now the other ones, these ones kind of go into musicals, but I decided to put them in anyway. The Pitch Perfect trilogy. There's a perfect blend between like musical and comedy that they started to blend it in, and it's just hilarious. There's there's jokes that you could very easily get if you're young, but if you're kind of a teenager, you'll understand them more. Like, I'm not going to say how you would get them, but you would get them, because these, much like Baywatch, they have sexual references, and they have jokes about different things that you would have to ask your parents and go like, why is that funny? And then they would kind of tell you. It's one of those. And yeah, and then also you have the Ghostbusters movies. No, I don't hate to, but I don't love it. But yeah, Ghostbusters 1, hilarious. It's one of the most quoted films ever. If you meet someone would do some sort of quote from it. But to me, the funniest one is the reboot. When they came out in 2016, I was cracking up. Again, much like the Pitch Perfect movies and much like the Baywatch film. It threw in sexual jokes. It told like very ridiculous and over the top jokes that I was laughing at constantly, because Chris Hemsworth plays the secretary, and oh my god, he was hilarious every single time when he would smack, I don't know what it was, it was like a symbol or something. He wouldn't cover his ears, he would cover his eyes, and because he's dumb, he doesn't have any lenses in his glasses. And that was just hilarious to me. And then the next two are two of my favourite comedies and superhero films of all time. And these are the two Deadpool movies. Deadpool 1 came out, I wasn't allowed to see it, I wasn't 15 yet, but when I got it on DVD, it was hilarious. Ryan Reynolds did a great job as Deadpool portraying the character. And the character in the comics does crack jokes, but it's not like crazy, over the top, sexual, in your window type jokes that they do in the movies. The movies are very raunchy. It's kind of like Baywatch, where they're raunchy and people won't get it unless you're 15 or over. And yeah, same with the second one. I saw the second one in the theater, but I didn't see it back when it came out. I saw it last year because they re-released it for COVID. So I saw that with 2 of my friends and my brother. And I was like, I don't think I like this as much as the first one, but it's good. But when I re-watched it, I was like, oh my god, this is just as good as the first one. I love it more now. And when I showed my grandpa the first Deadpool, and he didn't understand most of the jokes because he has a really hard time hearing some stuff, and they go kind of quick for him, so he doesn't like pick up on and go like, oh, that's a joke, I'm meant to laugh. I was like, I didn't hate the first one, but I'm just kind of going like, I kind of want to watch the second one because this one's just dragging on a bit long. But yeah, the second one is one of my favorite superhero films of all time. I just love it, and Juggernaut is exactly what Juggernaut was supposed to be, unlike that crappy one that we got in X-Men, X3, The Last Stand, where it's like, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! And yeah, so that was so good, and having the kid from Heart of the Wilder People, he was hilarious as well. Oh, that's one I forgot to put in here too, but I haven't seen that in a long time. But Heart of the Wilder People is good, so check it out. But yeah, guys, that's all. So guys, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Hit subscribe. Also hit the little bell icon to get notified of future videos I make. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.